Okay. Hi, hey, hello. My name is Alex. I am a non-binary and autistic author from the Pacific Northwest. I mostly write fantasy, but I do on occasion branch out to other things like sci-fi and horror. I have a short story collection that I released at the end of May called When the Stars Were Brighter, and I have a debut sapphic fantasy dark academia novel coming out on October 10th, so just a couple months from now. I stream every so often, just kind of whenever I feel like it, doing sprints, doing homework, doing research, all that kind of stuff. And so tonight, it's mostly going to be sprints. But before I do that, I have been working on a short the last couple of nights called In Time for the Wedding, which is about a transgender young adult who has to go on a multi-day road trip to bring their ailing grandfather back home in time for their dad's wedding, his son's wedding. Um, and part of that assignment requires that I read this aloud. And I'm very nervous to do it because I can talk just fine for the most part. Um, but when it comes to reading something aloud, I stutter really badly. So, I'm going to try and get through this as clearly as possible, just so I can have a recording of it and I can snip it and I can send that into my professor before it's due tomorrow night. And then we'll be over with it and we'll never speak with it again. The short also isn't done. I'll transition you over. By the way, do you like my new uh uh what do you call them, splash screens, I guess? I had one that I just found on Canva and I decided that it needed to have more Bulbasaur, because Bulbasaur is my favorite Pokemon. He is one of my special interests, and and I love him a lot. And so I have made it now that all of my splash screens, if we look at all of them, so this is the intro, this is my away from keyboard, and this is my video end one. They're all Bulbasaur. So eventually I would like it so that, because this is from a like 30-minute long ASMR video that official Pokemon put out. So they did one for Bulbasaur, obviously. There's another one for Squirtle where he's on the beach and playing with bubbles and stuff, and it's super cute. And then there's one of Charmander where he's sitting in front of a fire. And I think that one's the shortest one too, which kind of sucks. But um, obviously, because Bulbasaur is my favorite, I went with Bulbasaur. And eventually, I would like to have different segments from this ASMR for all three splash screens. But I didn't have a lot of time to look today, so I just did the same one for all three for now. It will be changed eventually. But all that said, uh, so here is the doc for In Time for the Wedding. I'm just gonna try and read it, and then we're gonna move on to other things, and we'll never talk of this again, like I said. So, um, I'm just gonna try and read it through, and I'm very nervous to do this. Shiprock, New Mexico, 1400. The slam of the car door echoes across the quiet residential street like a gunshot. Squirrels scamper for cover at the sound, so loud Charlie offers a muttered apology for the squirrels who run for shit. I need to fix that line. Uh, offers a muttered apology. There we go. Let's try that again. Shiprock, New Mexico, 1400. The slam of the car door echoes across the quiet residential street like a gunshot. Squirrels scamper for cover at the sound, so loud Charlie offers a muttered apology as they secure the door with the full force of their body weight. Every day, old reliable, their dented Honda from the 90s becomes more difficult to contend with. As their spine molds to the curve of the car, Charlie casts a glance across the street and settles on an unassuming yellow house. Their keys jingle as they flick through each one and rattle them off under their breath. House, car, valet. Car, spare. Locker, mailbox. A miniature Funko figurine of Sora from Kingdom Hearts. They run their calloused thumb across each piece of metal, each hard plastic tab, as their gaze remains latched to the door. Driving across multiple state lines with an elderly man whose health is on the decline and who is vastly unaware of their transgender status had once been a thing of nightmares, but now here Charlie is. They still don't know why they said yes to begin with. They had called their grandfather shortly before pulling up, just to give him advance notice. He doesn't need it per se. They could just as well knock on the door. And yet they can't bring themselves to approach. Each time they consider their grandfather's state of being or how he might react to their appearance, their heart becomes a jackrabbit struggling to break free of the trap of their chest. They smooth the wrinkles in their shirt down and take several deep breaths. Will their grandfather notice the way their chest is flattened, the feathered edges of their too short hair? Before they have time to conjure an answer, the front door in the yellow house swings open. A slip of a man emerges from the shadows beyond, bald and liver-spotted head swiveling as he scans the road. After several seconds, his gaze falls on Charlie and Old Reliable. Charlie pushes himself off the side of the car and approaches. Nice to see you again, Grandpa. Could say the same for you. The grandfather's eyes rove over them from head to toe. You sure have changed. Before Charlie can respond, the grandfather is pulling suitcases forward and huffing as he does, face reddening with the effort. Let me help you with those, they start, but he's shoving past them, cane thunking against the pavement as he limps towards the car. Always a mule, never the rider. That's what their grandmother used to say about him. He gets as far as the trunk before, with some reluctance gesturing to Charlie with a floundering hand, the first, and likely only, request for help he'll give for the duration of the trip. Then the trunk lid is open, and he's standing at a distance, posture stiff, as Charlie hauls up his suitcases one at a time, and deposits them in the nest of trash and miscellaneous items they packed for rare emergencies. Always better to be Always better to be prepared, they think, especially when one is miles upon miles from home in a rickety car, trapped inside a secluded space with another person. The trunk takes several attempts before it slams shut at last. Charlie wipes their brow with a shaking hand. Their chest tightens from the exertion. Ready to go? The grandfather grunts in response. It's as close to an acceptance as they're likely to get. Monticello, Utah, 1600. The first 2 hours aren't unbearable if Charlie doesn't think about how the radio is constantly changing, or how the AC is blasting nothing but lukewarm air, or how the window gets stuck if you try to open them too far. If Charlie ignores all of these, then they can say the trip is going just as expected. Instead, weak from the heat and skin skittering with the force of 100 ant colonies, they're forced to concede this road trip is one of the worst ideas they've ever had. Not an idea born of their own volition, of course. Their grandfather's poor health is the crux of the reason they're in this mess, a fact they can't help but reflect on every time they notice him panting in the passenger seat. And every time they've reached to change the dial from the soft voices of the NPR station to something else, he fires a reproachful glare in their direction. It's good to stay informed, he says, each time, thumping his cane for emphasis. The next time Charlie decides to go on a multi-state adventure like this, they decide they will do it in a car more suited for the trip, ideally with like-minded friends beside them. Not that there's anything wrong with NPR. They tune into the droning once in a while, though it is more often quiet enough to put them to sleep. The problem lies more in the glances they cut their grandfather's way, at the stern set of his mouth, as the litany of stories roll off the newscasters' tongues. The current state of the government, the latest disease ravaging this or that state, transgender people in sports. All of these and more make their appearance on the broadcast. It's the last subject in particular Charlie wants desperately to avoid, if only to keep away from whatever inflammatory remarks their grandfather will say about it. But instead they listen, knowing each time they reach for the dial they are fighting a losing battle. Best to keep their grandfather occupied and happy, if only so he can forget how insufferable their circumstances are. Before long, the grandfather must be as bored as they feel, because he leans forward and turns the radio down. So, he says, rolling his cane across his knee like a rolling pin, your dad and Denise. Right, Denise. They're happy? They're getting married, aren't they? He snorts. That's not what I meant. Charlie watches the road for several seconds before responding. It's just them and the road, a strip of gray. She's not going to cheat on him. Nice lady? They shrug. I like her. Ahead, the road continues to unwind in a never-ending gray ribbon. Salt Lake City, Utah, 2100. Grandpa's snores cut through the hotel room like a chainsaw through wood. He left his CPAP machine at home. Fucking course he did. If he had brought it, Charlie could at least be listening to the white noise-like hum. Instead, the room vibrates each time their grandfather breathes. Worse, though, is the conversation playing on loop from dinner. They had stopped at McDonald's. It's close to the hotel and cheap, and despite being the furthest thing from what either of them need, it's what Salt Lake City had on offer, and so that's what they had gotten. Overall, it hadn't been the worst choice, save for how dinner now sits like a rock ready to crystallize within their gut. It hadn't been until they approached the counter that the issue was apparent at all. A nervous individual had taken their order after many unsuccessful requests to Charlie's grandfather to use one of the new machines meant to do such a thing. Their hair had been long, the frame of their body longer, to the point they looked like a piece of taffy pulled taut on a stretcher. and there, affixed to their vests, had been a pin with an arrow, a plus, and a combination of the two on a ring, the transgender symbol. Charlie had gulped at the sight of it, internally apologizing for their awkwardness as they steered their grandfather away as quickly as possible. Didn't know they allowed that sort around here, he said, coolly over a box of 2 salty fries. Charlie had said nothing. Now, caught between their grandfather's snores and their own racing thoughts, Charlie unspools that simple interaction until it is as long and gangly as that McDonald's employee had been. Could they have said more in that poor worker's defense? Should they have said anything at all? The lack of response had not been a desired one if their grandfather's chilly demeanor after the fact had been anything to go off of. If anything, the conversation confirms one frank thing for them. Walter Harris is not a safe individual to come out to. Not now, and perhaps not ever. Salt Lake City, Utah, 0630. Just as Charlie's eyes flutter closed at last, their phone lets out an ear-piercing wail and drags them back to consciousness. So much for trying to get any rest. They peel themselves from the pool of sweat they've been drowning in since they first lay down for the night, and regard their snoring grandfather in the bed across the room. In the dim morning light, he's as frail as they've ever seen him, curled into himself like an infant. It's enough for their heart to lurch at the sight of him. And yet, with great reluctance, they come to his side. "Hey, Grandpa," they say, coupling the words with a gentle nudge of his shoulder. His eyes snap open at once. What is it?" Their dead name erupts from his mouth with a cacophonous clatter. It's enough to make them want to drag their nails over their ears. "Time to go," they force themselves to say instead, before shuffling into the bathroom and locking the door. To their disdain, they forego a binder today. Between the heat and their grandfather's apparent disapproval for that sort of thing, instead they opt for a t-shirt and an open button-up over top. A backwards cap flattens their unruly hair into something more manageable. It's as comfortable as they're going to get. When they emerge at last from the bathroom, their grandfather's nose wrinkles. Charlie crosses their arms over their chest. Have they gone too far? "You sure do look different," he says after several seconds. Before they can ask him to elaborate, he shuffles past them and into the bathroom. He grunts under his breath with every step. "Did he look this pale yesterday?" Charlie unlocks their phone and pulls up the Maps app. Another day or so of driving if the route is to be trusted. They'll both survive the drive, right? Twin Falls, Idaho, 0945. "So," Charlie's grandfather begins, invoking again the name which makes Charlie want to drive their piece of shit Honda into undergoing traffic. "Where have you been?" The grip tightens on the steering wheel ever so slightly. "What do you mean?" "Well, I certainly haven't heard from you in some months. Your dad says you've distanced yourself from everyone." The leather is squealing now under Charlie's grip. "Have I?" "You haven't made any effort to call me, at least." As they spend the next several seconds debating how to respond, they think of their circumstances at home, of the office they work in, the one with the newspaper-thin paper towels, and the soap that smells like wet dogs. How, as the day stretches into the afternoon and then into the evening, lines of cars get longer and longer outside the window. How, some nights, the drive to the small town apartment gets longer and longer, too. And yet, they think they would rather all of it. The newspaper thin paper towels and the dog scented hand soap and the daily commute that only gets more insufferable. All this they would endure 1,000 times over if it meant avoiding this. Instead, here they are. "Why, yes, Walter." They drum their fingers over the steering wheel now. "I haven't called because each time I hear about your health it sends me into a panic spiral. Even now I have to wonder if you'll survive the drive, if both of us will. The last thing I need for you is to keel over on the way to your son's wedding. He'd find a way to blame me for certain. Not just him, all the drugged-out cousins and uptight aunts and the great-grandmothers that are somehow still alive. All of them will blame me if you find a way to die during this drive. And, of course, it's a thought not unique to this trip, either." Charlie chews on the inside of their cheek until they taste blood. "Because whenever the talk of doctors and medicine and hospitals crop up, I have the burning need to tell you I'm not the granddaughter you thought you knew." Despite themselves, memories flicker in their mind's eye from their youth. He hadn't been this threadbare when they had visited during the summer. Him and Grandma and their trite little trailer had been a refuge from the chaos at home. Even now they could smell the waffles he would make if begged enough, the shells and cheese and chili concoction Grandma would cook most nights. And as they had gotten older, these meals happened less and less. Then they had graduated, and Grandma had died, and they had moved across the state to try and forget about it all. "What happened to us, Walter? Why couldn't all of this have been easier?" Instead, what comes out is a choked, "I've just had a lot going on." Not quite an acceptance, but not quite a dismissal, either. "You still in school?" "Not right now." He says again. His cane taps out a steady rhythm on the floor. "Working? Insurance. Full-time." At this he guffaws. "She'll know what to do if we get in an accident, then." Charlie's grip slackens. Finally, something away from the particulars of the family. "Something like that. I'm just a CSR. I shouldn't consult on policies at all without a licensed agent overseeing me." "Still something, though." "It is." His cane gives a final firmer tap. The car makes a disagreeable sound in response. Charlie opens their mouth, unsure if they're about to say, "Don't hit my car," or something else more docile, when their grandfather cuts him off. "It hurt, you know." Their jaw sets. "What did?" "Not having you in my life. Just because Agnes is dead doesn't mean you need to. He pauses then, hand on his chest, and his gaze shifts to the world outside. "It just hurt is all. I miss you kids." "And we miss you too," Charlie replies automatically. "Then why do you never call?" They don't respond. Nothing they can think of as a reply is proper enough for the subject at hand. Instead, they lock eyes with the road and try to ignore the creeping feeling down the back of their neck. Umatilla, Oregon, 1600. "If you ask me if I'm okay one more goddamn time, I'll drive this car off the road myself." Despite their grandfather's whip-sharp words, Charlie can't help the nervous glances they keep shooting at him. Since they set out this morning, his skin has gone grayish, his breath's more ragged. They roll down the windows as much as the motor allows. The wind fills the cramped car interior and warps, producing a noticeable warble that sets Charlie's skin to itching. "Are you too hot still?" they ask as they jam their finger into the button controlling the window again. "I'm trying to. Stop focusing on me and look at the damn road." The car skitters underfoot, as if it too is startled by Walter's frantic shout, but Charlie forces it back on course with tightened knuckles. Stubborn mule of a man. Up ahead, brake lights light up like warning signs, a sea of red. Fuck. Charlie steps too hard on the brake, and they, Walter and Old Reliable, all lurch to an abrupt stop a hair length away from the car in front of them. "Pay attention," Charlie's grandfather rasps. His knuckles go white around his cane. He meant his words to be sharper, Charlie knows, but the edge has been sanded down by the panic of the moment. Hand trembling, he reaches for the knob on the radio. "Not more NPR. Please." But they can't get the words out past the dam of their teeth. Overlapping voices flow through their greening speakers. Ahead, the line of cars is a flood of red. Cle Elum, Washington, 2000. A drive that should have taken 4 hours from Umatilla to complete instead has enough time to get a suitable rest stop in Cle Elum. Charlie could complete the drive if they still wanted to, but after 4 hours of staring at brake lights and listening to old men drone on about politics, they're too threadbare to bother. And unfortunately, that's all I have. I just have the outline that's left for this scene and the outline for the final scene. So that's all I have left to do for this short. I need to turn this in. And this is about as far as I've gotten so far. So now that embarrassment is over, um, we're gonna transition to doing some sprints because I hated every single second of that. Um, so let me get to where I'm at because I'm way more excited to do this. I don't know why I have a fucking what is it called? The national anthem. I don't know why I have that stuck in my head. I was mistaking it for "You're a grand old flag, you're a high flying flag." Don't know why that was in my head either, but anyway. I'm just in like overdrive mortification mode, probably is what it is. So let's start one for 10 minutes at 25, so in about 3 minutes. Shit, it's join. And then I'm gonna fix this. And then I'm gonna choose different music for us to listen to. So that was just opening music. Last night we listened to some Hollow Knight, so let's just put that on again. Ooh, it's Green Path. Is it just Green Path though? Because I love Green Path, but if it's just Green Path, I might lose my mind. I think so. Let's look up Hollow Knight music. Sure. Calming, relaxing, and Hollow Knight don't fully go in the same sentence, but you know. This one to the video description. Yeah. And then I'm going to turn off my mic and do the things. sick. That's print number 1. We're getting to the good stuff with this, and I'm trying to just let myself finish things, and then I can worry about fixing them later. That's really where I'm trying to get with this. Is this my favorite? No. My favorite is, oh god, I forgot what it's called now. Green Path. My favorite is Green Path, which is later in this playlist, and wait, is it Green Path? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's not the point here. The point is, yes, it is Green Path. Okay. So let's do another one. Let's do another 10-minute one at 40. So in 3 minutes. I probably won't do a terribly long one. I'll probably do a couple more sprints. So I'll probably go until like 7:30 maybe, and then call it for tonight. Because I need to figure out how to produce a clip of this short story to send to my professor. And also I have Dark Souls 2, and I want to play it. So not like a terribly long stream tonight, but I just wanted to play around with some new splash screens, and I wanted to do that, so I had that assignment out of the way. Really. And then I have writing group tomorrow. I think the next time I'll be able to stream is Wednesday. I need to review my husband's schedule, but I think Wednesday is the next time I'll be able to stream, so in like 3 days. So. I also am waiting for Barnes & Noble to process the new updates to Sharpen More Lasting Pain so I can get this printed and have it available, because I'm basically almost done with that step too, and I'm very excited about it. So, a lot of things have been going on this week, and I'm happy about that. I kind of felt, when I had my first publication, I kind of worried that I was basically going to be a one-hit wonder, you know? And then that was the Temple on Kikado Hill, and then I published Within These Twisted Vines, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm okay. And I've just been, like, doing shit since then, so that feels pretty nice. Anyway, we have less than a minute, so. Okay. That went interesting places, I feel like. I may stay up and keep doing this for a bit longer. I definitely want to do a couple more sprints just to get the scene done and maybe start the next one. And I do kind of want to work on outlines for the sequel to Sharper More Lasting Pain. Maybe? I'm not sure yet. I also need to save this so that I have it. Most of so I kind of took the Bloodborne approach when designing a lot of the monsters in this world, in that a lot of them are just stock, like, werewolf looking things. In A Bitter Tasting Blade, we see some different ones. Like, the first scene is Toshiko fighting a monster in a lake that is kind of like a serpentish dragon in appearance. Um, this one, though, and for whatever reason, I'm just thinking the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, which makes sense because Beauty and the Beast is itself a derivation of the myth of Eros and Psyche. Um, so I'm not like wholly not attached to it, but I worry if I keep that kind of description that readers are going to think this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Um, when it's not. um, I don't know. I'll probably have to look at that some more. I was looking at because there's a few humanoid creatures from Greek mythology that I was trying to lean on for inspiration, and most of those are like harpies or sirens or whatnot, or like the naiads, and so I don't know. And so then I was looking into Persian mythology because Rian is from Perov, which is a country inspired by Iran Persia culture, um, and it had split off from Van, which is the ancient Greek inspired country in recent-ish history. So it because it already had like a distinct culture of its own, um, but it just kind of evolved to the point where they were like, we want to be our own country now, and so they became their own country, and so it became Perov instead of Istvan, and so then that's where Rianne's from. So I was looking into that, but I wasn't. That's something I'd probably need to do a bit more research on. So I definitely monster design. Now that I'm thinking more about the monsters in this world, I do think I need to think a little more about the monster designs as a whole. Because the initial thought was like Bloodborne, where they're like dog-like or werewolf-like. Um, but um, what was I saying? I do think there is an element to it where monsters, like the design for each individual monster, is in part affected by like the person they were's personality and things they're interested in, and like kind of the traits that they embody. Maybe it may be the kind of approach that I can take there. I'm still thinking about it. Another thought I had today is Rianne, because she's the Siki analog here in this short. I should definitely give her more like butterfly and metamorphosis related imagery. So that's something I'm gonna think about next draft and kind of where I can plug that in. I was also thinking today, um, that's something I'm gonna look into on my own time because I do want to make a world wiki, and I do think Notion may be the best place for me to build that. Just many things I've been thinking about lately, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Um, I think we're gonna do one more, and then I'm gonna do some fucking around on my own. Because I have to figure out the video anyway to send to my professor and whatnot. So this is a shorter stream. Um, to compensate for the fact that I streamed for like 5.5 hours yesterday. I stayed up until like 1 o'clock, and then I woke up at 5:30, and I've been up ever since. So I'm tired, and I have to work tomorrow. So it's gonna be a shorter stream tonight, regardless, because I have things to do, but especially because I have things to do, and I'm tired, and yada yada. Oh. So I think, yeah, we're gonna do one more for 15 minutes. So, shit. 15 at 00. No. There we go. So, I'm excited that I finally got to the part where they meet. And I'm one step closer to having a draft of this done. I want to get this draft done by October, so 2 months from now, and I think I can do it. And then rewrite it by November, send it out to betas, have their feedback back by December, rewrite again before January, and then do some edits January to February. I'm probably going to self-edit this one just because the way my finances are right now. And then just spend February to end of March preparing it for publishing, I guess. I'll probably, in February, do what I did for Sharper More Lasting Pain, submit it to Barnes & Noble, get a proof copy, proofread through it, and do like final edits, and then have that done. Just because the amount of time it's going to take to finish all of that is a headache. But so we have about a minute left, so you know the drill. so that is that. Like I said, I'm gonna do a shorter stream tonight just because I have to. I downloaded a video editing software, so I have to figure out how to use that really quickly in order to get the clip that I need for this assignment. And I need to look into a couple things to figure out how I want to do like a world wiki for my fantasy world, obviously. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. We're ending on a very emotionally charged part that I'm very excited about because it all goes downhill from here. So I'm excited for that. I'm especially proud of the last few lines that I wrote here. So I'll just one by one, the pieces began to fall into place. The strange letter in the study, the grooves in the table, in the hearth, in the floor and the walls of the west wing, the strange woman who had appeared within a room all those nights before. You knew, she said, first in a whisper, then with knife-like severity. You knew a monster lurked within this manor. The aunts went still, and this time did not recover. You knew, she said again, louder. You knew! Now they closed the distance between them and shook Rianne by the shoulders. Everyone knew, you petulant child. The only one who was never supposed to know was you. So, I like that bit a lot, I feel like. So I'm really excited to see where I take it from there. I'm not quite sure yet. I have a general outline and I know where it needs to go, but everything between like what I have and where I'm supposed to go is always a mystery to me. So we'll see, I guess. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. Sorry this was a shorter one. Like I said, I think it's to compensate for the fact that yesterday I streamed for like 5.5 hours. So, I think the next time I'll be able to stream is on Wednesday. So hopefully I'll see you then. Thanks for sprinting with me if you sprinted with me, and I hope you have a wonderful night.